Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about GST. Now, GST stands for Goods and Services Tax. Now, this is very common in Australia, where I'm from, and this is just it's just a type of tax that we pay to our government. And at least in Australia, this goods and service tax is included in all things we buy. You go to the grocery shop, you go to a bookshop, anywhere. The GST is a certain tax that is included within the price. So I'm going to write here, tax included within the price. And if you're in Australia, you could go to any supermarket, pay, get your receipt, and when you look at the receipt, it has the price you paid, and it'll also have this little thing that says GST. And that has the price, a certain percentage included within your price. So GST is a type of percentage. This is another application of the percentages we've been learning. Now, before I go on, this is different in different countries. So in Australia, this is included within the price. But for example, when I went to America years ago, it would trip us out a lot because we would buy, little things here and there. And there, the GST is calculated after. Well, it might be different, but don't quote me in case I'm wrong. But when we went, we'd go, okay, cool, buy this, and this. And then we were ready to pay that amount of money. And you go up to the counter, and there it was calculated afterwards. And we'd think, oh, yeah, that's right. They don't include GST in their price. So we have to pay this tax on top of the price there. So it works differently in different countries, but at least here in Australia and in the Australian syllabus, which I'll be teaching, the GST is included within the price, and the goods and services tax, the GST, is a 10% tax of the price of the item, and that gets included after. So we can say that any item we buy, so say I went to a shop and I see a book on sale, and the price tag on this book, I'm not great at drawing price tags, but that price tag here says that the book costs $56.80. Now, what's important to note here is that this price is made up of the original price, so the kind of raw selling price, how much it's valued at, but it's also made up of a 10% GST. So, how do we approach these types of questions? Now, I'll give you an example question that links to this particular example. Now, what we want to do here, now that we understand GST, we're going to say, in our example, we want to first calculate how much GST is charged. So we want to find the actual GST here. Now, before we move on with this, there's something important we need to consider, because you may be inclined to just jump straight into it and go, all right, cool. Well, I know that 10%, I can find 10% of this price and I'm golden, right? Now, it's a little bit trickier here because we've got to think of the portion that the GST and our original price makes up. Because we can think of our original price as just being our set whole number, which is $56.80. And that makes up our whole, that makes up our 100%. I'll actually write it here. Now, a 10% GST is also applied to that. So the total the total percentage included in this price. So I'm going to write here that the sale price is made up of our original price. I'll write that as OP, 100%, plus the GST, which is calculated and already factored into this price, at least in Australia, where I'm from. So therefore, we can make this link, or we can say that this sum of money, that our $56.80 makes up 110%, with our 110% being our original price plus our GST. Now, how could we find 10% here? Well, now we are just using our unitary method. We are pretty much just getting this percentage here down to 10%. Now, we can actually get to 10% here by just dividing by 11. Because 11 lots of 10 gives us 110. We can do the full-on unitary method. So we can divide by 110 and then multiply by 100. Oh, sorry, divide by 110 to give us 1% and then just multiply it by 10 to give us 10%. But we can kind of just use this as a factor and just divide both sides by 11. That'll give me 10% on the right-hand side. So 10% equals $56.80 divided by 11. Now, when I do this, I will get approximately that 10% makes up $5.16. And I've found this particular percentage, this particular portion, which is our GST. So that is part one done. We have made this link between the original price making up a whole, making up 100%, as well as a 10% GST added on to that, giving us that we can express $56.80 as 110%, with this bit making up both of our components here, as I mentioned earlier. Now, because we just brought that to 10%, we found our GST. And that is part one done. And now in part B, we are going to find the selling price. Oh, can't spell. The selling price of the book. And that is without GST. Now, There's a couple of ways we can do this, but the easiest way to me would be that, well, 100% our original price just equals to the kind of marked price, our $56.80, minus the GST, which is $5.16. And that makes sense because 100, we can get 100% from 110% our price minus 10% our GST. So let me actually label that in here as well. So that is the, let's call this well, let me actually say this is the original price. This is the original price. And then this one here is our selling price, the actual price we see when we go into the shop, the price on this label that I've drawn here, which is $56.80. And from that, we subtracted our GST. So we're sort of working backwards here. We're making a link between some portion, some whole, being a price before GST is added. And then to that, we're adding a 10% GST because in Australia and in a lot of other countries, a goods and services tax is factored into the price. You can see this on your receipt when you go to a shop. So we can make this link and say, well, that means our price that we see when we go into the shop makes up 110%. And then we can use our unitary method to work backwards. This is why I stress the importance of the unitary method and just having those strong foundations, finding percentages of a quantity, doing things like that. Same with adding and subtracting percentages. Because when we actually go into the applications, these tools end up being very powerful. But in most places, GST is 10%. So we factor in 10%, we add that to our raw price, our original price before GST is applied. And that is how GST works. And we will go through a lot more applications of percentages, examples in future videos. So I'll see you there.